Joining us now to break down the week's events and the direction of the Republican Party more broadly is Hogan Gidley, the National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign. So, Hogan, we know there's a lot of attention right now on the January 6th challenge. That's what a lot of people are focusing on. But last night, we heard President Trump lay out what is going to happen as far as his efforts, too. He says that he's still fighting as far as the 2020 campaign goes. It was a very eventful rally, but I think a lot of people are wondering, too, what comes next now regarding these legal challenges or the president's efforts more broadly. So can you explain that for us?
Well, there are still several things out there. Of course, two Supreme Court cases, one about Wisconsin, one about Pennsylvania. We expect those to go really well for us. So remember, a lot of the courts that have rejected all of these cases to this point haven't rejected any of them on merits. It's all been some weird, legal standing issue, some technicality. So we still expect to have a good shot there as part of our efforts. But also, we know that there are a lot of senators and congressmen now that are standing up and saying we need to make sure these elections are free and fair, and that the American people have confidence and faith that the election was conducted legally, that it does have integrity. And so we have about 140 plus congressmen out there who have expressed willingness to object come tomorrow, and 12 senators saying the same thing. And so obviously we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But there's still a lot of chances out there. I mean, although admittedly they're getting smaller, but I mean, the fact is the American people deserve better than to have, evidence out there that we now see so many double votes going on. I mean, you're talking 50,000 around in Wisconsin where I think it's about 28,000 votes were cast where no one showed identification. 17,000 votes were taken from some Democrat event like ballot harvesting, which is also illegal. 6,000 of the votes in Wisconsin cast with a problem with the envelope. And then, several million votes that were cast in Pennsylvania without signature match at all. That's absolutely illegal in the state of Pennsylvania. And the same goes for Georgia. So there are a lot of things out there I think the American people are going to be hearing for the first time tomorrow on the floor of Congress. So they absolutely can see exactly what we've been seeing, what we've been chronicling very well up until this point.
And I think the event tomorrow is a little bit representative of something bigger taking place as well. I mean, for example, if we were to look past 2 months ago, it didn't seem like too many Republicans were going to come out and support the president in this challenge. And now here we are approaching January 6th, and you could argue that most of the Republican leadership is coming together to at least get those answers that you're talking about, at least the answers that 75 plus million Americans are wondering themselves. So do you think that is a result of public pressure, or do you think that these lawmakers are starting to see the evidence that you're talking about yourself?
I think it's both. I mean, look, I learned a long time ago in political science classes that the sole goal of every single elected official is to get reelected. You can't get reelected without votes. You have to do things that actually profit your constituents. I was out in D.C. today. I walked around in the rain, in the cold. People are out in D.C. in full force. More Make America Great Again spandex than I've ever seen in my life, by the way. But a lot of folks are excited about where this is going. They don't like the fact that what they saw in their local communities happened. They know it happened because they witnessed it with their own two eyes. And so for the Democrats and the media to say there's nothing to see here, they know that's a lie because they were in the trenches and actually saw it. People are out there and they're enthusiastic. They're walking around D.C. with a smile on their face. They're boarding up the town again in many areas. They ain't boarding them up for Donald Trump supporters. They're boarding them up for the left and what they expect them to do in protest to our side's, peaceful demonstrations around D.C. But I think that's what pushes these congressmen, that's what pushes these senators to say, wait a minute, I'm hearing things on the ground. When they went home for Christmas, when they went home for Thanksgiving, people were appalled at what they actually saw in these localities, in these voting precincts. And I think they told their representatives, you can't let this happen. I have no faith that this election was conducted properly. And I think you're seeing a lot of those senators, a lot of those congressmen take note and say, you know what, we're going to go back to D.C. and fight on your behalf.
And Hogan, I think it would be a different story, for example, if Republicans were blown out back in November, the way that many people in the media were telling us was going to happen. But I think that after November 3rd, it became very clear that the Republican Party is still the party of President Trump. I mean, by no means was he or his ideology rejected. In fact, President Trump last night saying that they won 18 of the 19 bellwether districts, that Republicans took back seats in the House, they held on to the Senate, all these things that weren't supposed to happen. So do you think that realization really prompted many of the these senators, for example, who may be eyeing a 2024 run themselves, saying, you know what, this ideology, this movement that we're seeing is here to stay, and that's why I should fight on behalf of these Americans as well.
I think that's a great point, and it's been pretty obvious to us. Look, I've been in Republican politics for a long time. I've never seen a president, I've never seen a politician take the incoming that Donald Trump has taken from the left and from the media and given it right back to them. I mean, a Russia hoax, impeachment, going after his children, going after his wife, going after his businesses, and also going after all of the policies that actually went to improve the lives of all Americans. You can truly say you're better off today than you were 4 years ago because of his policies. And he made it okay for Republicans to realize you can fight back. You don't have to take it every single time. This president has created a Republican Party that is strong again, that has a renewed sense of love for the country, has a renewed sense of strength, and a renewed sense of the need to protect what this country is at her core, a beacon of hope and strength and goodness all over the world. That's what Donald Trump gave them. And I think the Republican Party is going to keep following that track because it's not just successful for elections, it's successful for the future of this country. And that's all due to the leadership of Donald Trump.
I think you're exactly right. In fact, we hear the rising stars within the Republican Party, whether it's Matt Gaetz or Josh Hawley, saying that they don't want to go back to the party that was the lovable loser, if you will, under Mitt Romney or anything like that. They think it's time to fight for the values that the people of this country hold dear, and that's something that many people weren't getting for the past couple of years, and I think we saw that with the turnout of Mitt Romney, John McCain, those presidential candidates who, yes, they are good people at heart, I'm sure, but at the end of the day, they weren't the fighters that the American people were looking for. I think you're right on to say that. But Hogan Gidley, I appreciate you coming on tonight and breaking down the movement of the Conservative Party more broadly. Thank you.
Thanks so much.